Hi, and welcome to this episode of Rare Book Chat.
In this episode, we discuss how a knock on the door led to a terrible Frubber blunder. And then we're joined by Darren Sutherland, Senior Specialist in Fine Books and Manuscripts at Bonhams Auction House, to discuss an extraordinary complete collection of the Kelmscott Press volumes. Also, Sylvia Plath's copy of The Joy of Cooking, Kafka's first Scribbling, and a lot of other fun things. Enjoy the episode. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Michael.
I come to you in a state of distress.
Oh, no. Gastrointestinal?
A little bit, but that's not the major issue right now. The major issue is I've been losing sleep. Well, one night of sleep because this issue only came up yesterday. Could have been the espresso. I had a lot of espresso. But anyway, I am distressed. I am distressed about something that happened at auction yesterday. And I'm not, it's not one of these situations where I was just ignorant of something and found out later and well, I didn't know. So what the heck? I was watching an item and then a visitor came with about 10 minutes left.
Oh, no.
And then I kind of, forgot about it, thinking it would go high. And it went preposterously low.
Oh, boy. And
now I'm not joking. I'm really, it's been bothering me all morning.
So this is...
Can I introduce it to you?
Non-buyer's remorse?
This is non-buyer's remorse. Okay, so what this is yesterday at Christie's, there was an interesting sale called Science Fiction and Fantasy.
I saw that sale. It is an interesting sale.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at a bunch of things, but this one item I kept going back to and I kept open as a browser tab. Einstein, as you know, I have a thing for Einstein. Einstein, pioneering robotic head.
I saw that.
Yeah. So this is being auctioned by Hanson Robotics, who made the head. So provenance is perfect. So I was going through the catalog, and what caught my eye is the picture.
Yeah.
The head-on picture.
Very striking.
And it's a little disconcerting looking at him, don't you think?
Yeah, I saw this, and
he's bald in this picture too, and we don't think of Einstein as bald. That's for sure.
No, it is weird looking.
Can I tell you a little bit about it?
Sure, that's the whole idea.
Okay, so it's a robotic head, and the Einstein. I'm reading from the description here. The Einstein by Hanson robotic head, developed by Hanson Robotics in 2005, a landmark achievement in robotics and artificial intelligence.
Wow.
Yeah, this was a big deal. First of all, it's made of flubber, the material, his skin. That is a made-up name by Hanson Robotics. There was a movie when I was a kid, Flubber.
Flubber?
Did you ever see that?
No, I missed that one.
Fred McMurray. I think it was a Robin Williams movie later, too.
Flubber?
That must be from the movie. It's just occurring to me now, but that's a fun name to say, Flubber.
I don't know. It's kind of gross, actually.
It's fun. Flexible rubber, flubber. Makes sense.
It makes me think of blubber.
It does. But it's fun. Say it a couple times. It's fun.
Anyway, keep going.
So it's made of flubber. And what made this robot remarkable, and I will read from their description, and you can see if you agree or not. The human-like facial expressiveness made Einstein by Hanson one of the first robots to evoke empathy and a sense of personality, going beyond mere mechanical functionality. This was both a hand-sculpted work of art, that might be debatable, and a work of cutting-edge technological innovation, resulting in numerous patents, awards, and scientific papers on the subject of AI mechanisms for synthetic facial expressions and human-robot interactions.
Huh.
So the big deal was, yes, it expressed emotion.
From 20 years ago.
Yes. And it won all these awards. And it's considered, according to their description, the first fully capable android. Its official name, by the way, is Albert Hubo. Yes, human bot. The first fully capable android. Even met George Bush in 2005.
Phew, must have been quite a humiliating experience for Bush.
I actually saw a clip of it on YouTube, too. It's a little anticlimactic.
Was Bush aware that this was not actually Einstein?
Well, no. The thing is, when they've shown Einstein in action, it's this head on this just robotic body, like it looks like a robot, and then you have this human-like head stuck on it. So who are they fooling? Like, that's what I was watching videos on it now because after the fact, I'm learning about it. Unfortunately. And I don't know, you're just saying it evokes empathy, sympathy, and all this sort of thing. And yet it's on a body that looks like it's out of somebody's doodlings of a robot.
Yeah, but so many of the things in the history of computing, so many of the most consequential firsts were awkward and unsuccessful, and then others refined it.
I don't think this is unsuccessful.
Okay.
And they're arguing that his facial expressions are remarkable and not awkward. And he even has a German accent.
Oh, wow. He speaks.
He speaks. Of course he speaks. He's a robot. He's an android.
Oh. No, it's not Flubber. It's called Frubber. It's
No,
not
I think that's a mistake. I don't know, actually. In the headline, they say Flubber, and then in the text, they say Frubber. Now I want to know what it is. Oh! It's Frubber. Christie says Flubber and Frubber.
Yeah, so Christie's Flubber and Frubber. All right.
But on the Hanson Robotics site, it says Frubber.
Well, I'm seeing the result here, and maybe that had something to do with the cataloging error where they couldn't get the spelling right, and somebody was wondering, is it Flubber or Frubber?
Yeah, it's Frubber. I like Flubber better.
Flubber? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm going with blubber. It makes me think of blubber, not rubber. Frubber would make me think of rubber.
Yeah.
Flubber makes me think of blubber. Anyway, keep going.
Okay. Hanson Robotics calls it Frubber. Yeah.
Even Christie's makes errors? Wow.
It's impossible.
Okay.
It, by the way, it walks at 1.25 kilometers an hour.
Oh.
He? Can we call him he? Because he's got emotion? All right, now, can we get to the essence of the problem?
Hold on. Listen to this. Winner of the Smithsonian Cooper Hewitt Design Award. That's cool.
Cover of Wired from 2006.
Man.
It's a big deal. They say it inspired movies, too. And they also developed a sister, Sophia, for him.
Wow.
Can I tell you the problem now? Can we get to the essence? Can we get back to
Sure.
our world?
Yeah. Let's go.
Let me preface this, which we often complain or notice or acknowledge that estimates are low. And we go, why do they make that low? Right? Well, that's ridiculous. It's going to go higher.
Right.
Well, I saw the estimate 100,000 to 150,000 pounds because this auction's taking place in London. And I just thought, all right, well, interesting. Let me move on.
Yeah.
Because I figured it would start around 80,000, 90,000 pounds.
Right.
I didn't notice this little dot after the headline that says no reserve.
Yeah.
I should have noticed that.
Ooh. Always read the fine print.
Yeah, no one does, though. They should have had no reserve.
You make a lot of mistakes not reading the fine print.
Yeah, well, we all make mistakes. I just made one.
Yeah.
Which you'll hear about. Actually, I'm really confused about this. The estimate's 100 to 150,000 pounds. It's consigned by Hanson Robotics. And then, as it was ending, 10 minutes left before my visitor came in. It's like Coleridge's Kubla Khan. It was in this great moment. A visitor knocks.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. Do you know what it goes for?
I can see, yeah.
All right, so 10 minutes left. I saw it at 4,500 pounds. And I thought, well, no one's really started bidding yet, right? Yeah. So I didn't really pay attention. But you know what we always say and never follow. Always leave a bid. You always leave a bid, right?
Always leave a bid, yeah.
Always leave a bid. That's where it ended.
Yeah. Phew.
Price realized with commission, 5,670 pounds for a really important computer historical AI robotic artifact. That is a ridiculous price.
Do you wish you bought it?
Yes, I wish I bought it. I wish I had it here.
You'd like to have it in your office. You'd be sitting there and you look over and there's old Al.
It would be unbelievable. Like, I'm actually, all joking aside, I was losing sleep about it last night. I was so angry at myself.
Well, don't be too angry and don't lose too much sleep because you have no idea what the other bidder was going to go to. The other bidder could have brought it right up to 300,000 pounds.
That's a good point. I was falling into the trap of the fallacy of the predetermined price.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to resell this. This would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Having this in a display case, somebody walks in and you're like, hey, that's Albert.
Yeah, that's some Frubber. And there's some pretty.
No, I'm dead serious about this. I'm really upset about it.
And this is one of one. This is not.
I looked into that this morning because I didn't look at it. I was hoping, maybe it's one of many and then I shouldn't worry. No, as far as I can tell, it's one of one. And now I've been spending the morning watching videos of Sir Albert Hugo. I had the Sir.
Yeah. Do you think maybe it would have done better if it wasn't Einstein? Because when I look at the photograph here, these photographs, there's something like awkward and sort of unintelligent about the facial expressions.
It's creepy. And you should see the videos. They're creepy.
Yeah, they are creepy. So when I look at this, I wonder what might they have done better if, say, they had another celebrity or well-known.
No, just a person.
What about if it was like Bill Murray from Caddyshack, where his face is all sort of like bent out of shape? You know that, like where his
Jim
Carrey, or like Robin Williams in Mork and Mindy days.
Someone who could contort their face more Frubber-like.
Well, not just that, but it would, when you see like the disturbing or the slightly like bonkers facial expressions of this robot, you'd think like, well, that makes sense. It's Andy Kaufman. It's Mork. It's
When they show him moving around on YouTube videos, he does have hair, so he looks better.
I wonder if the dissonance, the cognitive dissonance of seeing Einstein in this like weird state of, he looks kind of, I don't know, he looks confused, he looks not that smart, is maybe that's a turnoff. Whereas if you had a comedic character who's, how about Steve Martin from The Jerk? They should have done him.
They could have done him, yeah.
Because then you'd look at it and see like, oh, this would
They could have made a mold of Steve Martin's face.
Yeah, they'd be like this disconcerting, facial expression conveying like confusion.
I think Steve Martin would have to agree to that.
Okay, well, fine. So they probably got Einstein, because I guess his face is now in the public domain.
I don't think it is. Images of him are not.
Well, I mean, if you walk down the street, your face is in the public domain. Anyway,
what if I don't walk down the street?
Yeah,
I'll leave my office anyway. No, can we go back to something?
Yeah, but I'm just saying Einstein could have been a poor choice. It might be that you would have done better with.
I still want it at that price, and I think a lot of people would. My big point is, what if they put the estimate at £5,000 to £10,000? I bet it would have brought 30,000, 40,000 pounds.
Yeah,
I bet so many people must have done what I did. Or am I just on an island here?
I didn't read this carefully. I mean, I'm just skimming it now. Was this consigned by Hanson Robotics?
Yeah, it says that. I just found that out today too. I mean, my dismissal because of the estimate was wrong. If you go to hansonrobotics.com/Albert-Hubo, you see all about him, and he's really promoted with videos, with everything. I mean, he's 57 kilograms he weighs.
Whoa.
I've got a lot of information about him here. And what are you going to say? I mean, 5,670 pounds all in?
Yeah.
This is
seems cheap.
You're not comforting me.
I don't really care. I mean, I wish you got it.
You told me in a previous podcast that I could tell you my problems.
Go ahead and tell me, but I can't be compelled to be emotionally affected. I wish you bought it. Yeah, it looks cool. That is a cool thing. I also wish it was Bill Murray's face from Caddyshack. That character I love, or Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, these are all good choices, but
because what I don't like about
robotics 20 years ago.
What I don't like about Einstein's face here is he looks like a dunce. And that doesn't make sense to me, that Einstein would look like a stooge.
You think he looks intelligent in the sticking his tongue out photo?
Sure he does.
Yeah, he kind of does.
I
thought I'd go for it, but
yeah, he does. He looks great in that photo. He looks irreverent and daring and zany and youthful.
So what do you do when you miss something that you really want? Like, I'm overcome with avarice right now. That's a deadly sin,
Write the auctioneer and say, "Hey, I missed the bid. If the winning bidder would consider an offer of..."
They're not. They're going to go put 100,000 pounds onto the winning bidder.
Maybe they're not selling it.
Even worse.
Yeah, maybe that's for like a companion for a lonely child in Silicon Valley.
Moral of the story: always leave a bid and don't answer your door if somebody knocks. So a couple weeks ago, we delved deeply into the world of William Morris, and as luck would have it, there's a big sale of the Kelmscott Press. Kelmscott Press books, soup to nuts. And as our expert on the sale, we have Darren Sutherland. And Darren, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Darren Sutherland, and I am a senior specialist at Bonhams in New York. And we have a single-owner collection, the complete Kelmscott Press collection of Joseph Mark Van Horn, coming up on December 17th.
The complete Kelmscott Press collection. I've never seen that in a sale before.
I've seen one other bookseller offer a collection complete. That was somewhere around 2016.
How many books are in the collection?
So there's 50. They printed 53 books, 66 volumes. But Van Horn also collected. There's a Nuremberg Chronicle, because Koberger was a huge influence on Morris's type design, the Troy type in particular. There's a Caxton leaf. He collected kind of the more ephemeral related items connected to the Kelmscott Press.
I'm interested in Joseph Mark Van Horn. He's an entrepreneur and inventor, engineer, computer scientist.
Yes, an engineer, but as a collector, he was interested in fine things. I believe he was a car collector as well, and I think he recognized the beauty of the Kelmscott Press material. He saved all of the letters from the booksellers and auction houses he was buying from. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, when you see a 1958 Goodspeeds receipt,
Yeah.
you feel pretty good about it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. In the blurb for the collection, he's described as having the most remarkable taste in the arts. That's
Who wouldn't want to be discribed that way?
I know.
Exactly.
That is so cool. And that's a high bar.
Yes, that was direct from the obituary. That
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
the most remarkable taste in the arts. How do you like
the most
that?
remarkable taste. You would expect somebody who had the most remarkable taste in the arts to be collecting Kelmscott.
He was a completist.
He was a completist. And I was thinking about that as well, as there's the Kelmscott being 53 books, 66 volumes. Like, that's a very achievable thing for somebody to set out to collect a complete run of.
It must look amazing together, too.
I mean, they're so beautiful.
So you mentioned that a completist could achieve this. It's kind of reasonable goal, but with this level of condition, that the level of difficulty goes way, way up.
True. This collection has the advantage in that regard of being put together in the 60s and the 70s when these books were still available. And it's, I think, one of the most fascinating elements of the collection is that was literally frozen in time.
Wow.
Yeah, you said it's emerging Rip Van Winkle-like.
He passed away suddenly in 1983, and his fiancée couldn't really process, and so she just put the books in storage and didn't look at them again. She passed away in 2023, so that's 40 years of just climate-controlled storage from a collection that was assembled through the best booksellers of the 60s and 70s.
Wow.
So, and you can see from the letters, from the booksellers, he was definitely a known collector, and people were helping him to build this collection back when getting books in this condition was not so difficult.
Right.
And there are so many inscribed copies and important inscribed copies, like the ones inscribed to Edward Burne-Jones, his collaborator, who did the artwork on so many of these books.
Yeah, I mean, those, I don't think you could get a closer connection than Burne-Jones. He was his full collaborator throughout the whole thing.
Was there any consideration of offering this as a single lot, or any thoughts about private sale, with the whole thing kept together?
We did discuss that, but that's a very hard proposition.
Yeah.
Maybe in particular as an auctioneer.
Yeah.
I would think that if somebody came along and said, look, we want to take this off the table, that there would be a discussion to be had with the consignor. What
was it like when whoever was the first person to go there to set eyes on this collection? Was there like a conversation like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this? Or maybe OMFG even?
Yeah. Well, we did. We did a lot of legwork on the collection before we were actually able to see the collection.
Okay.
So the first time where I actually put my hands on the books was when I picked it up.
Really?
Yes. So, and at that point, then I was emailing back to Jan Ealing, the director in New York. Oh my God, you've got to see these.
So they didn't disappoint when you put your hands
No,
on
they did not disappoint.
What do you love in this sale, Darren? Like what at the high end, at the low end, what jumps out at you? What would you want?
Well, you guys in your previous discussion of at the end of the world.
That caught my eye.
I think that's so cool.
Right. That and its influence on fantasy literature, I found that fascinating.
Yeah.
But I think that the two books printed on vellum are extreme interest. I think that those are so tough to find these days.
Yeah.
I think you comment on the Rossetti copy on vellum that one hasn't appeared at auction in 80 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. And that's the type of collection it is where you go back through and there's 3 or 4 copies inscribed to Burne-Jones. And those are, have to be the greatest association of the Kelmscott Press books.
Yeah. I was looking at the collection and, seeing all the Kelmscott books here as a whole. And it occurred to me, that this looks like almost like a canon. Like this is their selection of, and I know the Kelmscott Press ceased to exist after Morris died, but this does feel a bit like a canon put together in the 1890s, and it's just to me it's an interesting time capsule of what they were, what caught their eye and what was important to them.
I agree, but I think that was kind of his whole vision in starting the press, the idea of the ideal book. And it was this very personal project where he printed his own books.
Yeah.
And then he also printed the books that meant something to him.
Yeah.
Either as a designer, because he called himself a decorator, or as a lover of literature. But every one of the books, I think, had a personal connection to his vision and his life.
Yeah. And as you go through this collection, do you get the feeling like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts?
I do. I think it's made me see the output of the press in a new light. And I think that's one of the great things about the catalog, is that to have it all in one place, you really start to understand how everything works together in toto.
Yeah, because you do see some of these come up, 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there, and some of the lesser titles. And sometimes it's easy to just breeze over them and think, well, a couple of books from the Kelmscott Press, not that exciting.
Right.
But this whole collection here, you see what an ambitious project it was.
Right.
Let's not kid ourselves. 53 books is a lot of books. That's a huge accomplishment by the press.
On a hand press.
Yeah. It's incredible. I think
in
your
6
point.
years. Right.
Yeah, seeing them together makes me admire the press so much more.
Well, that's what, we got to go back to the line about William Morris. He died of being William Morris. I mean, the man was very, energetic and productive.
When you look at them against each other and in light of kind of this pinnacle of his design career, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
There is a standalone beauty to them by any measure in my mind. Is
this the kind of collection, do you think these volumes 50 or 100 years from now will have the same appeal? Do you think it's like this is a fading part of the book world?
No, I think that the fine press movement in general is having kind of a renaissance. And I think as we move forward into, presumably a more digital world, that these press books will be seen as works of art.
Works of art, yeah.
Which they are.
Yeah.
I've had that thought with the digital world that if you want books, you may have fewer books, but you want them to be way different from a digital book. You want something beautiful. You want something that provides much more than just text that you can get online.
Right. And it's not like they're ostentatious, their beauty is in their simplicity.
Handmade paper.
Yeah.
Simple bindings.
The beautifully wrought illustrations. I mean, it's an immersive kind of experience, which is a weird concept when you're thinking of a book. And, in today's digital world with, virtual reality and all the rest of it, these books do have a really powerful appeal that is not just the words on the page.
Absolutely. And interestingly, that immersivity, is that a word?
Sure. It is now.
Let's make it a word.
I feel like that's what every web designer is trying to accomplish.
Yeah. They should be going back to Mars for
this is the source.
Yeah. All right, let's talk money. Do you think looking at a sale like this, we could see some really high results given the provenance, given the condition, and given that, this is a complete collection from a really celebrated collector, or who I think probably will be celebrated collector in the future?
Well, I think that the composition of the collection and the history of the collector make for an incredibly interesting and exciting provenance.
Yeah.
And just the whole story of it, this kind of frozen in time aspect. And there's books there that you won't see again.
Yeah.
if they disappear into a long-standing library, this is the only chance you're going to have at them.
Yeah.
Right. So years from now, these may be the Van Horn copies, and that may carry some weight.
Correct.
Well, it's interesting to think that we're about to see a provenance kind of minted,
Right.
I know that, yeah.
We all know Doheny and the Bradley Martin and all the rest of that, but we're going to have a new provenance to refer to. All right. Let's pivot. I want to talk about a cookbook.
So do I.
What's going on with this Sylvia Plath cookbook in the other sale, in the Fine Books?
The day after the Kelmscott sale.
That is one of my favorite things I've ever worked with in 30 years of
no kidding
doing this. But it has some kind of personal significance to me. My wife is the editor of The Joy of Cooking for Scribner.
Oh, wow.
So,
all right, so you're bidding.
I would love to bid.
Can you
bid?
Love to
bid. No, I can't bid, but I would love to have this one if cost was no object.
Right. So, but just walk us through it. What is it? Why is it exciting?
Yeah, so briefly, when I saw the headline, Sylvia Plath's copy of Joy of Cooking, I said, well, that's interesting. But then I read the description, and it got way more interesting.
And now Darren just said in 30 years is one of the most exciting things he's ever seen. So now that's even way, way more interesting.
Yeah.
I did not fully grasp the importance of The Joy of Cooking to Sylvia Plath's work and life. There's a through line in all her letters and the diaries of this Joy of Cooking, and she calls it her favorite book. And, it's present on the table while she's on her
favorite book. That is crazy.
She reads it like a rare novel. And when you read this, The Joy of Cooking has changed since it was first published in the 30s and gone through different iterations. And this 1953 edition in particular, as you read it, you can see how it reads as a narrative.
No.
And I think that she talks about that a number of times in the journals and in the letters of reading it and not just kind of looking for a recipe, but experiencing it, which I thought was fascinating.
She mentions it in letters, in writings, and even in a short story.
She very much lived with it. And that's one of the interesting things about the book. And, clearly I've spent a lot of time with this, but you can look at her mentions of recipes in the letters and flip to the entry in The Joy of Cooking. And you can see where she's talking about how important it is to keep a meringue cold. Oh. She's got that emphasized in the book.
Wow.
And that happens over and over, making spaghetti and meatballs. And there's this, this note next to it in the book where you can see that she's actually, experienced this.
She wrote to her mother, "It's the one book I really miss," requesting that her mother send over the cookbook when she was without it. That's
yes.
Really great.
She wrote to her 3 times that right at the beginning of her relationship with Ted Hughes, requesting the book.
Wow.
And there's this, she has this elegant description of cooking him a rabbit dinner for his birthday in the summer of 1956. There it is in the Joy of Cooking.
There it is. Wow.
Her copy.
Darren, can I read this from your description? Because this hit me. You say her ownership inscription is dated 1954, the year she returned to Smith College following her breakdown and suicide attempt. On July 3rd, 1954, she wrote to Gordon LeMaire, quote, "As of today, my new philosophy of life is, in times of crisis, assume the worst, but serve it with parsley. That last is out of my Joy of Cooking book from the section What to Do with Leftovers." This hit me because here she is recovering from a breakdown, and it's like her anchor is a Joy of Cooking book, which, doing things like cooking, tasks like that are focused, following a recipe even, can really anchor you. I don't know. I might be reading too much in that, but when I read that from your description, that hit me hard.
No, I think
it's very personal.
I think you're absolutely right. Maybe an anchor in both senses of the word. It rooted her in reality,
right,
but it also kind of made it hard for her to produce the literary output that she might have otherwise produced.
Yeah.
She would cook. I think she would sometimes cook to avoid. I believe it's an article about like 24 cakes in 24 hours.
This is such a good description, I have to say.
Well, thank you.
It got me really excited about it.
I don't know if you've noticed, but in a previous episode, we were really enjoying the descriptions written by Rick Statler at Swan, and
Oh, were those Rick's?
yeah, they were so good. And I mean, I don't know if you're in that league with this, but
Well, they can have a description contest. They can have a description off.
Thanks, guys.
I mean, I'm not. Look, I mean, that had real literary magic.
This one's good though.
This one's awfully good. I'm going to put this down as awfully good.
Lot 26.
Now, there's a thing too. I was looking at this lot, and Darren, I don't want to hurt your feelings with that. This is a great description. I don't want to. It is.
All right, thank you.
But
I do strive.
Yeah, I was looking at this lot. Looking at the photo and the condition of the book, and
Yes.
it occurred. So we were just talking about the Van Horn collection of these beautiful books in immaculate condition, and then you look at this, and I mean, let's be honest.
Those are food stains on the cover.
That's not the best copy of Joy of Cooking out there that you're going to.
There's some gravy. There's some gravy on the cover.
Condition-wise. But then I'm asking myself, like, would you want this to be in nice shape?
Right. Isn't the whole point kind of that it's used
Right.
and worn
Right.
and, lived in? I think if it was a perfect copy.
It would be very disappointing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, there are clearly food stains in the text as I'm looking through. Some tomato
Yes,
sauce.
there is.
I don't collect sports memorabilia, but like if you buy Willie Mays' glove, you want to have a broken in glove, right? You want to
You
have.
would think. Otherwise, there's an issue.
There's an issue, right? Like, what's going on?
Oh,
So
years ago they sold Einstein's leather jacket that he wore all the time, and of course it smelled like pipe smoke.
Hmm.
Good.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what you want. His pipe smoke.
Yeah. So this is the one. This is the case in book collecting where you want a poor copy.
Well, right. Adds to the provenance, doesn't it?
It sure does.
In the same way that, Van Horn's perfect collection of Kelmscott Press books, that adds to the provenance. This is from the other side. You want this lived in and you want it worn and you want it food stained and,
I mean, spine perished, well worn and well used.
There you go.
Rear board detached.
I do try and imply that that's what you'd want anyway.
That's what you want.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, when you grab a cooking book at home to cook something, unless you go to an online recipe, but I still have cookbooks, and the ones I use are the ones that are mangled and a mess. The ones I don't use look perfect, but
right. And on the recipes that I use over and over, they're stained with
that's
food.
right. Yeah, that she lived with this. You can see it.
Yeah, and I do think there's an element too. I do think, and I tried to draw it out in the description, that this tension between domesticity and kind of more forward-looking feminist really was kind of central to her life and to her work, both.
And back to the condition thing, and Michael and I are always having conversations and sort of realizing that anytime you try to make a rule that's hard and fast in book collecting, you'll find something that completely explodes, your theory. So in this case, the poor copy is, the one you want. So fine copy, no, won't do.
Right. Well, I think, I go back to your conversation about 1984, the copy at Heinemann, which you guys were spot on, by the way. That was remarkable. But, I think that, I think it's all case sensitive.
Case sensitive, yeah. Okay, so this sold in 2018.
Correct.
4,500 pounds.
Yep.
So I don't get the estimate. Like
the estimate is $4,000 to $6,000.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited by this book.
The description's better now.
Description's better. You're so excited by the book. I think Michael's even excited.
I'm excited about it.
Excited. Darren, your wife has got to be excited about this book.
Oh, my wife is excited about the book. Her colleagues are excited about the book.
Right. So $4,000 to $6,000. I mean,
you're teasing us with that.
Teasing us.
There is a bit of a tease there, probably. I don't know if you saw this, but at another auction house, 31, I think, recipe cards and a rolling pin that came from Frida Hughes as well, sold for like $28,000 or something like that.
I think if you get this, you get that, you're going to want the apron too, aren't you?
You're going to need the apron for sure.
Anything else quickly?
Wait, no. Don't know. I want to ask about the Plath letter. That's the next lot. 'Cause that's cool. I think that's so cool.
I didn't see it.
Yeah. And it sold in 1982, or didn't sell actually. It passed, but
Yeah, I think it may have been withdrawn.
okay.
It was unclear.
So introduce that better, Jeremy.
Well, it's an unpublished letter to her mother in August 1955. A charming letter. But Darren, you tell us about it.
Well, I mean, I think that she is just on the cusp. She's trying to sell stories to what she kind of sees as the glossy mags. Like, I think everything to that point had been her student work. And she just finished this 20-page story called Platinum Summer, and she just sent it off to Collier's. The story itself was interesting, and I believe it's just about to appear in a collection of prose of hers about the summer she was recovering from her breakdown.
Yeah.
She dyed her hair blonde and kind of set herself free a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's, that to me is kind of poignant in itself.
Yeah.
All the while reading The Joy of Cooking.
No, and she had such high hopes for the story. You quote a letter to her brother where she says, "Once I get that first professional story accepted, the gravy train will be in." And then you say, here she tells her mother that she sent 20 pages to Collier's and she's sure it must sell somewhere.
Right.
It didn't.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah. That is, I mean, that's
Statler-esque right there.
That is Statler-esque. Sure,
I mean, she spent the next 5 years kind of in that same mode, I think.
You know what I like about this, just having the two together in consecutive lots is you get the domesticity and then you get the literary aspirations, right there together. I mean, if all you had for a Sylvia Plath collection were these two and a copy of The Bell Jar, that wouldn't be so bad.
That would not be so bad.
That's a nice observation there, Jeremy.
Thank you. Oh, but I want to say something else though. I was curious about what else is out there. Type Punch Matrix has a painting by Sylvia Plath from when she was 16 years old. It's really quite striking. So, I mean, if I'm going to go for a fourth thing, I might want that as well.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. Because
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel a bit like Sylvia Plath is having another moment.
Yeah.
There's so much more in this sale. It's a really interesting sale. Covers a lot of topics. Just real quickly, what else jumped out at you as other favorite things in the Fine Books and Manuscripts sale on December 18th?
I mean, it's the type of sale that's been very hard to market because there are so many interesting things from so many different areas. You can start with the first lot, which is the Composite Atlas, which is one of the most beautiful atlases I've certainly ever seen. The hand coloring is exquisite. The last time it was at auction was 1984, where it sold for £100,000.
Wow.
It's a unique item assembled for a wealthy buyer back in 1730.
Oh, wow.
So it made £100,000 at Sotheby's in 1984. You have to see it to kind of understand it because it will floor you. But there's also Kafka's, the earliest known piece of writing from Kafka.
I saw that. Wow.
Which, is an interesting note from a young man.
Yeah.
He's 14 years old.
Right. It's a thought in an album, Liber Amicorum. So in a friendship album, and he is waxing teenager-esque.
Yeah. And he's doing a pretty good job of it.
Pretty good job. Yeah.
I take that over my high school yearbook.
Yeah, like, can I read it? This is what he says. I'm going to read the translation because you don't want to hear me try to read German. There's a coming and a going, a parting, and often no reunion. So that's wistful.
Profound.
Wistful, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you do the provenance on this? How do you confirm this?
In this case, it's from Bergman. It's from the family. So, and there's diaries. I mean, Bergman is an interesting guy himself. His diaries make specific mention of this album in particular.
Oh, wow.
With his own analysis of it. We got
to dwell on this a little bit.
Okay.
There's no way that estimate is going to be real. 10 to 15,000. I'm sorry, but
and throw in the fact that anything handwritten by Kafka is extraordinarily rare.
Also, extraordinarily rare.
Where do you see his signature? How common is Kafka's signature?
Not. The answer is not. It's on some letters, but it's rare.
A 14-year-old boy? Oh my goodness.
You guys were talking about the Kafka manuscript
Yeah.
a couple episodes ago.
That's right. What did it make, Michael? 280,000 euros or something?
Yeah, it did. Do you know what just struck me? Bergman, you say here that he died in 1975, and he's born the same time as Kafka. But of course, Kafka died so young in 1924, which sounds, 100 years ago, because it is 100 years ago. But 1975 sounds like, oh my gosh, Kafka could have lived to 1975, and these were the same age. Which doesn't sound so long ago.
I love this. Wow.
I hope you're right, Jeremy. I hope, or Michael, whoever said it.
So it's the whole book.
Yes, it's the entire album.
Oh wow.
And with just the page of Kafka.
Okay, I'm going to ask your photography team to like capture that a little better, because because I want to see that it's a book. I kind of want to see the bookness of it.
You are 100% correct.
Wait, so the other pages in the album are other friends writing things?
Correct.
Oh, that
so
actually
you put them in total context.
That exactly.
Right. And if we had to have a better picture up, you'd see the edges of the album and the spine and the
yeah, this is a cropped picture. You got to do better than this.
And the thing about I love the idea of Kafka being one there among 20, or if there are 20 other signatures, whatever it is, because then you really are brought into the reality that this 14-year-old boy is like all the other boys who signed this album, or girls, or whoever signed it.
Right. And what happened to those people?
Yeah, it's just there's something so incredibly intimate about this.
Wait, I just noticed this. This is from the description. On his 90th birthday, Bergman reflects on the meaning of Kafka's aphorism and offers an interpretation. This is
that is in his diary.
Wow. When Kafka wrote these words at bar mitzvah age, did Kafka have in mind the deep meaning that we attach to his words today? I don't know. We can probably interpret these lines as a warning to his generation. Could be stretching, but
could be.
We're not going to criticize this guy. He was Kafka's friend, so that's
exactly.
That's pretty cool.
I like it in any case.
Michael, how much is that going to sell for? Let's play a game.
Oh gosh,
pick a number. Darren,
Hammer.
Darren, you don't have to comment.
No, he can't comment. No, he can't comment.
Over under.
I hadn't thought it through. Oh, okay, that's better. Okay, a hammer price.
Just all in.
All in. Okay, I have a hammer price in mind. Okay, all in. $60,000 over under.
Ooh, I was going to say 50 as the over under. I was going to say I think it's going to sell for 50 plus.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So I'm saying 50 plus.
I pegged it exactly where I thought it would go. So,
but would you be surprised?
I hope you guys are right.
Would you be surprised if it hit six figures?
I would be a little surprised.
A little surprised. Would you be distraught?
No, I would not be. I would be one eyebrow raised, surprised.
Okay. What would get you two eyebrows raised?
200,000 would get me confused and scratching my head, surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so.
It's
unique.
a wild world.
It's a wild world. It's so unique, and there's got to be somebody out there too. Maybe the two people out there who think, this is it. God, if you're collecting Kafka, this is pretty amazing. Do people collect Kafka?
Yes, people collect Kafka.
I'm just kidding. Come on, people love Kafka. All right.
Can I also bring up this Whitman collection?
Do it.
Another fascinating aspect of the sale is this is the Walt Whitman collection of Kendall Reed called Walt Whitman and Friends. And Whitman letters are not so uncommon, but these are all to that inner circle that both helped him professionally, helped him personally. People like John Burroughs, William Sloane Kennedy. There's a letter to Lowell. Many of them came from the Doheny sale. Speaking of provenances, they have the original Doheny folders where they were purchased by Doheny in
that's great.
1931 from collections like Clara Barris, and who was the original Burroughs and Whitman scholar in the early part of the century, and from William Gable's collection. So really going back a long ways and tremendous stuff.
I see that there's a charming photograph of Einstein in this sale, which sounds great. But when I look closely at the photograph, I mean, it is kind of charming because he seems slightly caught off guard. Like, are you really taking?
He looks surprised.
He does, right? He's not, but he's clearly posing. He's got the pipe. He's got the pen in his hand. He's got the book. He's perfectly, positioned for the photograph with his volumes in the background, his books, his library, nice chair, upholstered chair. but he's not quite ready for the photos.
A lot of times when he was with the photographer would say, hey, do what you're doing and take pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, this does, I guess, look posed, but he could have just been talking to him, and then Einstein looks up.
I mean, it's a good photo in the sense that like he does look like he just looked up.
Yeah. And he's a nice sweater. It looks cozy. Like, a nice chair. I like the chair.
He liked cozy clothes.
I know, but that's a nicely made chair, though, too. Look at that.
All right, the chair is not the feature of the photo.
No, but
To bring it back around to William Morris.
Well, I want
the chair might be the feature part of the photo.
Right. But also, I mean, could Einstein's know Van Horn into having the finest taste? But he had pretty good taste, I'm thinking. He's got a little
He had his own
wristwatch.
taste, own style.
Yeah. Nice pen. Look at that. That's a nice pen. And his fingernails are well manicured.
And his hair is not combed.
Hair's not combed. What? Are we overdoing it here?
We're overdoing it.
But no, check out the sweater. It's an interesting sweater.
It's not interesting.
No, it is. Look at the sleeve on his left hand. It's like an opens, and it's very chewed up. I mean, I wonder if he's a cat. This guy had a cat.
Yeah. Can we move on?
That is probably researchable. Michael, did Einstein have a cat?
I actually don't think he had a cat, Jeremy. So maybe he nibbled his own sweater.
Somebody nibbled on that sweater,
He could have nibbled his own sweater.
but it looks comfy.
Actually, the thing is, he would never buy new clothes. So it was probably a very old sweater.
He always seemed to have that disheveled genius look.
He once said about his leather jacket, he said, one leather jacket solves the coat problem for a lifetime.
Oof.
The coat problem. Man, that's literally a quote.
What if you have on the table, you have the Kafka note on one side of the table, and on the other side of the table, you have the two Sylvia Plath items, the letter, which I like a lot, and the cookbook, which we all love.
Okay, so you're talking about the Kafka several lines written in the friendship book when he was 14.
Yeah.
The Joy of Cooking, Sylvia Plath's copy, which she called her favorite book, something like that, one of her favorite books, heavily annotated and used, and the letter to her mother about trying to get published.
Yeah.
That's correct? Okay.
So, like, I think with the Plath, I do think that if you have the cookbook and the letter, and then you add later on a copy of the bell jar, you've got a really nice Sylvia Plath collection right there. I mean, you covered a lot of ground.
Correct.
So, okay.
So that's efficient.
Yeah, so that's the pitch for the Sylvia Plath. On the other hand,
and that it's a very influential book in her life and her work.
Right.
It's like that. I think that the Joy of Cooking, it's so personal, and
so
the level of there's no doubt in my mind
you're going to give it to your wife, aren't you?
Maybe it's a Christmas present.
Yeah.
So there's not even a question. Leave the Kafka. Just say, nah.
I would leave the Kafka.
You would, Michael?
I'm still thinking, and I'm going to go with the Joy of Cooking and the letter too, because it's just way more personal and important to her than the friendship book is to Kafka. That's like when you see that, there's a whole story there. There's a whole you're learning a lot about the person.
It's absolutely marvelous, but I'm still taking the Kafka. I like it. No, because he's 14 years old. He's one.
Of course, I like it too. We all like it too.
I know. It's just more mysterious to me. I think the Joy of Cooking is that what you've described, Darren, is so compelling and is such a, as you said, like kind of an anchor to her identity. And I love that. And I love the letter too, but I love the Joy of Cooking even more. But to me, the Kafka note has an element of just total. It's fascinating. It's mysterious. This 14-year-old soon-to-be literary giant writes this, somewhat philosophical little note, and there it is. So,
yeah,
all right,
it's a good argument.
They're both good.
It's not as good an argument.
No, who are you to judge? It's not like you're impartial.
No, but it's just fun to judge.
Cool. Well, we're gonna keep an eye on it and cross our fingers. I don't know why.
I'm sure with all this stuff, it will do very well.
Yeah, it's a cool sale.
Right.
So, thank you, Darren. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. It's fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.